But the nice thing about the Great Beyond is that you could do a lot of long form stuff. So you could do slower movement, you could do bigger images that kind of shift and morph over time. And that allows you to really interact with your environment more than it is just people staring at an LED wall.
Welcome to Welcome. Welcome to Ghosteater and Friends.
Welcome to podcast episode 6. We got our man, Paul, from Pothos Labs, right? Did I get it right?
Yeah. Nailed it.
Right. Pothos Labs. Now, he is a generative visual artist, and primarily working with projectors right now, right?
Yeah, it's like a dirty means to an end.
I'm not gonna lie, so I used to be a big visual guy. I used to hate on projectors so much. I was like, nah man, you need the LEDs. You need the LED wall. Projectors, man, I thought was weak, but I have since come around. There are really good uses for projectors, and like you said, cost effective. A lot cheaper than an LED wall. Trust me, I fucking know.
Well, and you just get like different kinds of fidelity and quality with projectors versus an LED wall. It's a whole thing. We can get into it later.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't want to start the beef off right off the bat. So I'm so happy you're here with us today. I'm hoping that you can kind of teach us all about, projecting and generative media. So that, just to kind of give like a background of that, when you say generative media, that's like live rendering media instead of like pre-rendered videos. Is that kind of right?
Sorta. So generative art at its core is essentially creating art based off of an automatic source of parameters. So oftentimes it could be something like using computer code to create a circle, as simple as that sounds, right? It could just be like, hey, I'm going to tell my computer using particular code to make a circle. Or I could tell my computer, hey, here's 500 random points on a grid. I want you to put a circle in every single one of these, and then I want you to move them around based on other parameters, right? So generative art is essentially automating a certain portion of your art creation process. Whether or not this is kind of created live or whether or not you spend, 6 hours rendering it, it doesn't really matter. I think ultimately generative art is based on utilizing computer automation to create art.
I see. So it's less about the live rendering and stuff like that. It's more about how you actually go about creating the art itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Generative art is honestly as much about the process as it is the end result.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense, though. So when you go about this, like, you kind of gave some good examples of what you kind of do. We have some dots places. You tell the computer to do some stuff with the dots. Now, what program do you use to do that?
So I primarily use Touch Designer. It's a free node-based programming software that essentially runs Python in the background. It allows you to not have to learn or understand how code functions in a very detailed way in order to be able to make really complex stuff.
Yeah, it can kind of help you with the code, can it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. So everything on the back end ends up as a Python script, and you can go in and make edits and changes and stuff. But if you just wanted to sit around and adjust the saturation on something, you could just click, drag a mouse. So it's really easy and it's super complicated at the same time.
We were just talking a little bit about that. How I kind of got into Touch Designer way back in the day, just because I was a big production guy, a big nerd at the time, and all of my professional high up friends that were doing it professionally, they were all like, "Oh, you got to get into Touch Designer." And I got into it and I was like, man, I was like, what the hell? That was literally my first introduction to anything node-based at all.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You can imagine. It was a little overwhelming, I admit.
Yeah, no, it was super overwhelming for me. I mean, I didn't get into it until like 2021 or so. And I was working to this, and I hope my old manager's not watching this, but I was working like one of the worst jobs ever. But I worked from home and nobody really cared about what I did. So I never really worked. I just sat and watched touch designer tutorials on YouTube for like 3 months straight. I was like, yeah, exactly. And they're like, what did you do today, Paul? And I'm like, I made a circle.
But in a really cool way.
Yeah, it looks nice. And they're like, that's not the server that I asked you to spin.
Hey, wait a minute.
But circle.
So you kind of got into touch designer in 2021. So did you initially use touch designer? Like, what kind of led you to deciding, hey, I really like this generative art. I think I can make something of it. Like, can you kind of lead us in that direction? Like, how did you get there?
Yeah, so gosh, this is going to be a lot of context. Enjoy. So
Content.
So I grew up in a really artistic family. My grandfather makes incredible works of ink pieces in Taiwan. He's got like his own museum for it and everything. My mom is a wonderful artist. My sister is a wonderful artist, and Paul over here can't draw to save his life. So I got into music growing up, right? And eventually getting into music, I ended up getting into DJing with with Ghosteater and some other local friends in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And so everybody started streaming their DJ sets online.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just me, but it was really boring watching somebody pointing their hands at the decks and just like not really have anything in the background. And so I was like, oh my God, I need to start making visuals. So I made friends with this guy named Miles Taylor who goes by Funk, and he makes analog glitch art. And we ended up splitting a Mad Mapper license because I just kind of wanted to support him in his projection mapping stuff.
Sure.
And one thing led to another, and he got asked to do visuals for this festival called The Great Beyond. And then another thing led to another, and he got asked to do 2 stages for visuals at The Great Beyond. He's like, well, I only have one person, so Paul's going to go do the other one. Nice. And I'd never made visuals before, so I'm like, great. So I went to youtube.com and downloaded a bunch of stuff and put it on the wall, and everybody thought it looked nice. And then I thought to myself, wow, this really sucks. I really don't want to just keep downloading YouTube videos. So one thing led to another, and I started making stuff in Touch Designer. And so like the next year after, when I did the stage for The Great Beyond, it was just a bunch of Touch Designer projects that I'd worked on for the year previously. So what started out as just kind of like a fun hobby to make streams look interesting has now quickly turned into Paul is no longer DJing. He's no longer making music as nearly as much, but he is spending all of his free time and all of his not free time making art.
Making circles.
Making circles move around on the screen.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, now we've actually talked about The Great Beyond before on this podcast. It's the techno, 96 hours of techno.
Yeah.
So that's actually sounds like a really good environment though for this type of art. I mean, it sounds like that it fits right in, especially because I know a lot of techno kids, they're minimal, you know.
Yeah.
They don't want all of the flashing lights or the LED walls, you know. They want like a strobe light and like a red light somewhere.
Yeah.
That goes on and off. So, did you feel like you fit in when you were there?
No, absolutely not.
Really?
Don't get me wrong, I love techno and I've been going to the parties for like 10 plus years now, but that's the thing, is like they just like having a very minimalist environment. And I think one of the things that I really enjoy with making my visuals is I take a lot of inspiration from seeing installations like what they have at Art Tech House, or like even what Max Cooper does for his live AV shows. And it's somewhat maximalist in the way that it does things. There's a lot of color, there's a lot of movements. It's very complex movements. And the Great Beyond, while those visuals weren't always perfect for techno, I think I was very thankfully on a different stage where they were doing a lot more house music and it was a lot more experimental music.
Okay.
And
A little bit more friendly to intensity.
yeah, well, and like if you ever look at like a festival or like a big EDM show, your visuals are moving really fast, right?
Right.
It's a lot of change because people are constantly looking for something that moves as quick as the music does.
Yeah, hard
and
to
a lot
do,
of
too.
I'm sorry?
Hard to do too, because a lot of that stuff is like 21 FPS and not really timed well.
Well, and it's like if you're making your own stuff and you spend like, oh, I don't know, like maybe you spend a day on a project, right? And you use that project for like 30 seconds because you got to move your visuals really quick. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I suppose.
So it's just hard, like making your own visuals and then also having to use them for really quick changes in VJ sets. But the nice thing about the Great Beyond is that you could do a lot of long form stuff. So you could do slower movement, you could do bigger images that kind of shift and morph over time, and that allows you to really interact with your environment more than it is just people staring at an LED wall.
Yeah, that's a complaint that a lot of my lighting designer friends have. Is that it's LED wall dominated and people kind of ignore or not even like take advantage of the other lights and effects really, because they're like, ooh, flash the LED wall, and they just have fancy visuals. And I don't, I think that the fact that you kind of take it and you apply it a little bit differently, I think that helps a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, and I'm like always constantly learning because this is definitely still a new thing for me where like I have to consider all of these things.
I'm giving you new fears over here.
Like one of the other things too is that all of our venues and our spaces are not really built for live visuals.
Yeah, that's true. Like especially in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
It's harder to set up big stuff like that.
And so it's like, yeah, I could shoehorn a projector screen in here and yeah, we can get something that mimics an LED wall, but we have all of the rest of this space that we can work with. And so that's why I like using my projector, is just because I have the pure flexibility of working in some non-standard spaces.
Absolutely.
I think like if we had a room and we could cover 4 walls with an LED wall and have people just sit there and sit down and look at stuff, like yeah, it would be really cool. But unfortunately, I'm doing stuff at like the VFW with like wood panel walls and
and like 8-foot ceilings.
yeah, it's like we're gonna get a little bit creative with how we want to present art to people today.
Yeah, which is great though. I think that's kind of like a niche thing that needs to be explored more and not be so niche.
No, absolutely. And because I think there's a lot of interesting things that people can do with art where when you design stuff for main stage, you're designing things that are very captivating and central for people to look at for a long extended period of time. But when you make stuff that fits your environment, you're focusing more on textures.
Right.
And so you're like, how do I mimic wood paneling? How do I mimic rocks? Can I make could I make a lava lamp drip from the ceiling? It's like these kinds of questions that we have to ask ourselves, and whether or not we can make is a very different question than can I make something that's suitable for the center of the stage?
Right. And I suppose, with projection mapping, you do have the flexibility of being able to use different services,
Yeah.
Where instead you're kind of either limited to like flat or rounded.
Yeah.
Basically with LED wall,
Yeah.
which kind of limits you, I think. Do you mix? Like, I really like when I think the Chemical Brothers are a good example, where they're really good at mixing their lights, their actual lighting, with their with their visuals.
Oh, sure.
And I'm wondering if being a projectionist or projection kind of like the setup at a festival, I think would that lend kind of more to putting lights in maybe like cool places where you can hide them more by like structure and then project on the structure. I'm just like,
oh yeah. No, I've thought about the same thing all the time actually. Because the funny thing is like, I use the projector because it's convenient and it's flexible. But the reality of somebody was like, hey, I have an LED wall, or I have these TVs, or even like I have these random DMX lights sitting on the ground. I can control all of these things in Touch Designer all at the same time. So
they send DMX too, like it can send DMX.
So we can send wireless DMX. I've controlled lasers and stuff with my programs before as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, so this is eventually going to have Touch Designer elements as well.
Yo,
because eventually what we're going to want to do once I basically can afford it, because I need a lot more. I need to upgrade this a lot. So
yeah.
I need more DMX channels, more universes, so I need a bigger key. I need a lot of shit to make it work. But on that note, you know, Matrix does have like live video feed abilities.
No kidding.
Yeah, so we can run our visuals like off Resolute and Touch Designer, and then we can send a feed right to the mask, and then we can just pick that cue, and then then we can just give control of the mask over to Touch Designer, and then that way, you know, we can get real fucking fancy with it, you know.
Yeah.
Have the like mouth move to the words.
Yeah. You can do that.
You're talking about sound reactive circles. That's what I fucking need. You know?
No,
what I mean?
absolutely. There's all sorts of crazy stuff we can do with it. We can give you 4 eyes if you really wanted. Like all sorts of stuff. You can like do the little blinky eyes when you're happy.
I just have to. The first thing I need to do. The reason I need more like channels is, as you can see, there's not a lot of pixels here. We're working with pretty low resolution.
No, imagine if you had a projector pointed at your face. It'd be 1080p right now.
Someday. You know, we'll figure it out. They have these OLED stuff. It can happen. Again, that's a little out of my budget right now.
Dude, you'd be surprised how far $200 takes you in Alibaba.
Yeah. Oh man, I get it. When I used to fantasize about building my own lasers, I would search Alibaba a lot. And then I tried to get these lasers that I heavily modified, like from China. Like I tried to get them varianced. Man, I didn't realize, like, I literally sent off the paperwork and then, like, a Marine is, like, the guys that handle some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's wild.
So, yeah, a Marine emailed me and was like, hey, though, this isn't adequate. You don't have all these safety features. And I literally just put, like, not applicable for some of them, and I thought it would work. I thought maybe we could just not have them.
You didn't just type down, I know what I'm doing.
I should have. But, so they emailed me, like, hey, we got your paperwork, you know, not applicable is not acceptable. Like, we need you to have these safety things, and I was like, alright. It's probably not gonna get varianced. So, I let those dreams die, officially, because I'm not gonna build a laser. Then I have to get it varianced, and, like, then I have to, like, send it to the FDA to test.
No, the trick is you just get one from China that's already pre-built, and it's probably going to be stronger than what it's listed at.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, I heard that the diodes are less quality, so they die after, like, a year.
Yeah, you got to replace them every now and then.
Yeah.
I borrowed my buddy's laser because I was going to use it for a project and then decided not to because I was going to laser my eyes out calibrating it. And,
gotta be careful.
Yeah. Because we were trying to figure out, like, oh, okay, so backstory. I built this big old tree out of wire and I attached a bunch of mirrors to the top of it.
Okay.
And it looked really nice. And I was going to point a laser at it, and then I was going to have the laser bounce between all of the mirrors. But the problem is, in order to do that, you got to adjust the mirrors. And so I was like, okay, well, how strong is this laser? And I thought it would be... I looked online, and I found the exact model because there is no actual serial number, and it just kind of looks identical to the pictures. It was like 15 megawatts. Or milliwatts. It was the MW. It was very large.
1500, so like 1.5 watts.
Yeah, it was pretty strong.
That's pretty strong. That'll blind you.
Yeah, and then so I was trying to find like safety goggles for it, and then I talked to the guy that I borrowed it from. He's like, no, it's actually double that.
Oh, so it's 3 watts? Yeah, man, I have like 1.2 watts. Those are the ones I was trying to get at variants.
Yeah.
Those are 1.2 watts, and they're bright, man. So double that, over double that. Yeah, you don't want that in your eye.
Yeah, I was like pointing at my wall across the house, and I like felt uncomfortable looking at it. So.
Oh, dude, you can literally get a particular type of sunburn if you have a lower, like if you have a lower nanometer laser diode, like if it goes down to purple. Some of them literally, the blue and purple diodes at the higher wattages can fucking burn your skin and
Oh my
give you a
God.
sunburn. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't turned it on since then.
It's so fun though. I get it. I would love to get some new lasers someday, but unfortunately I got a long list ahead of that.
There's just all this gear and it all costs like $100.
Yeah, oh god. Well, I'm trying to get an actual LED wall. Like that's our goal. And we're trying to raise like 25 grand because that's the rigging itself is like 5 grand. And to get a good I think it's like 9 by 5 or no. I think it's 10 by 6. It's in meters. It's like 9.6 meters.
See, that's why I have a projector and I thought about getting an LED wall because I was like, how much would it actually cost for me to just get like a 1080p TV that's like 100 inches across, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, it turns out it was a lot. And for like 25 grand, it's like some of the more top of the line industry stuff. So like, did you go to Immersive Van Gogh?
I did not.
Okay,
No,
so
I
they
did
covered this like 20-foot by 40-foot wall with like one projector.
That's so
And it was in
cool.
4K. And that thing was like $30,000.
Yeah. I mean,
But it covered the entire space.
You gotta rent it, man. That's the thing. We're
Yeah.
trying to buy, and but the thing is too, I got all this infrastructure figured out too. I got a homie with a trailer.
Oh.
You know, I got a homie with a truck that can haul the trailer.
Okay, so you've made better friends than I have.
Yeah. So, but it's still like
We got like
Hey,
2
you know.
Priuses and a CRV over here, man.
that's what lasers used to be, man. Like I would run lasers just out of my little car. I had what was it? A Chrysler Pacifica.
Oh my god.
But dude, you could fit a lot of lasers in that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean they're not that large. They're like
They're not
you know,
that
it's like
big.
this big.
They're like suitcase size, and they're getting even more powerful but smaller profiles now. You should see this fucking thing. It looks like an old school pencil sharpener,
Huh.
and it's like a 5-watt laser, which is like it's crazy.
That sounds like a
Crazy.
military weapon. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, but that's the thing. It's like they want the smallest profile, so they
Yeah.
stop building them hot dog style or hamburger style. They stopped building them hamburger style. Now they're building them hot dog style.
Oh, so they're just like longer.
They're longer, yeah.
Oh,
And then that way their profile is smaller from.
from like a rigging perspective, you can fit
Yeah.
more along the line. Do you get like
Yeah.
weird heat dissipation issues with that?
That's what I had thought, but apparently not.
All right, I'm into it.
Those are the new guys, you know.
Tight.
And yeah, I think it was.
I'll take 2.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I know. Yeah, send them my way. X-Laser or Pangolin or Cavant. If you're hearing this, I could use some lasers. And I mean, I'm sure Paul could use a laser projector.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I actually really like those laser projectors. Those actual projectors that just have like
Yeah.
the laser bulb.
Yeah. I have
Those are
one.
Sick. Oh, those. Do you have one?
Yeah, and then it fell off a truss last week, so that sucked.
Oh man. Well, What's your rig breakdown? What you got?
Yeah, so I run a desktop PC that I bring out to shows because I like to live render, like what you had mentioned before. So I bring out a desktop PC, and then I typically have an Epson Pro EX10000. It's a 4500 watt laser projector.
Oh, nice.
I bought it specifically to hit large buildings,
Yeah.
so I can hit like entire houses or like the side of a cathedral or something like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I use that primarily, and then for the inside shows, I have just like a smaller BenQ projector that I use.
What's your GPU?
I have a 3080 Ti.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so one of the
This
really
thing has a 3060 in it.
No
3060
kidding.
Ti. The Ghosteater laptop.
Oh wow, you managed to fit a whole 3060. That's impressive.
Well, it's a laptop,
Oh okay, yeah, fair.
so like, it comes with it.
Okay.
I didn't put it in there.
Oh yeah, I guess they like to make the discrete GPUs now and stuff. Yeah,
Right.
so I run two different projectors. Depends on the space. So I can hit really small or I can hit really large. It doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, last week both of them broke, and
They both broke?
yeah, dude. So like, I bought. Yeah. Long story short is when you buy accident protection warranty from Micro Center, they might sell you the wrong one and you're not going to fight on it until 2 years later. And they're just going to be like, sorry, dude, nothing we can do about it. My bad.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm
it's really
sorry.
unfortunate. So Micro Center, if you're seeing this, fuck you.
We've shout out Micro Center like 3 times in this podcast. I mean, sorry, Micro Center, this time you fucked up.
Yeah, no, like, anyways, I'm over it. So I actually, yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm emotionally over it, I guess. But yeah, that's the setup. It's just like one of the two projectors, and I'll mount it up onto a truss and then run it all off of my computer. And then I like to run TouchOSC on an iPad, so you can control everything in Touch Designer from your iPad. And so I can just walk around the show and just start pressing buttons, or give the iPad to somebody and they can start pressing buttons.
That's so fucking sick.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like super interactive, and that's kind of like how. That's one of the things I wanted to normalize with doing visuals all the time, was that people could play around with it and they can see how it impacts what's going on, and that kind of gives them a little bit more of an emotional investment to seeing visuals at more shows.
Yeah, you can, I suppose with like the Touch Designer, you can also get you can send a video feed to it, right? And
Yeah.
The video feeds, you can kind of include the crowd.
Yeah. So we've done stuff with like an Xbox Connect where like it'll track
Yeah.
somebody's hand and they can move it along the wall.
You know, I still have one of those from like 2013.
Yeah,
I
it's
kept
the
it.
exact one. Yeah.
Yeah, I kept it for Touch Designer. It works really well with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I don't remember why, but yeah, it was.
No, it's
great.
really simple because you just hook it up and then it tracks your body, and then you send it through an optical flow, and then you put it in a particle's GPU, and then you wave your hands around, and then the built-in leaves get moved by the movement, and it's a good time, and everybody feels like they're really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to scale that up though and incorporate that into like large scale, even like armory stuff. I think
Yeah.
it would be cool to bring that in and kind of make the crowd interact that way. My whole hope is that I can make big shows feel a little bit more intimate.
Yeah. It's tricky.
Yeah. That's really hard to
Because
do.
one of the hardest parts about using a Connect at a show is that whoever the Connect is tracking probably doesn't realize that they're being tracked.
Yeah,
It's
no.
always that one drunk dude like macking the ears off of some poor girl in a corner, and like the Connect is just like tracking his hand, and so it's just like your little ball that's being tracked by your hand is just like stuck in the corner and nobody knows what's going on. That's my Connect experience. But
Yeah.
for like an installation where it's just like one blank wall and like people are standing there and like observing it, and then you see some dude run his hand over the wall and then it clicks for
Yeah.
everybody else, like, oh, I can do that. And then it starts really to make sense.
Yeah.
So the Connect is a little bit interesting, but for larger shows, definitely. And I think there's like, I've seen installations where people point projectors from the ceiling pointed down.
Yeah.
And then like you can like put little circles that follow people around, or when they jump up and down, because the Connect can track your height as well, it could like push out a little like particle explosion or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's just a matter of like finding a way to integrate what you are making visually into the environment in a natural way that makes sense to people when they're not given explicit directions.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I really like I've been a huge like visual production guy for a long time, like that. I used to be an audio guy, realized how much that sucks. So then I changed the video and lighting, and then I realized that was really expensive, so then I did lasers. And then lasers is kind of where I stuck. I still consider myself a laser enthusiast and specialist. But I'd always kind of like wanted to break away from just the LED squares and the bars of lights that follow
Yeah.
a simple pattern, and you got some washes and beams, and that's it. And that's virtually every fucking tour right now, some version of that. And I'd really like to break away from that, and I think my dream is to like honestly like build like have a complex stage like an EDC but scaled down.
Mhm.
And I would like to mix projection with LED
Yeah.
and like have surfaces to project on, but only use them at certain times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can kind of trick the audience even with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, have you seen like there's like a couple of tours going around where they put up like a Tool screen in front of the DJ.
Yeah.
And so it's like this clear mesh, right? And it's really dark and nobody sees it. But then you shine a projector on and it's like completely opaque.
Yeah. What was that? I'm blanking on their name now, but they breeze the blocks song. They do the breeze block song.
Okay.
Editor B, help me out here. Who does the breeze blocks?
I just saw a video of Snail.
What is it? Something Joe? Dang it. Not Snails. Snails does it too.
There's this guy called Max Cooper that does that. He's like a huge inspiration for like some of the visual stuff that I try to push out.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that stuff is insane. And it's not like the video walls out. Oh, Eric Pritz did that. He does like a 3D show. But what he does with his 3D projections is
Eric
literally
Prize.
just multiple layers of these kinds of screens.
Yes, Prize with the space guy.
Yeah. And you see like the
Astronaut
hand
and
moving out, and it's like a
Yes.
billion people taking photos of with their
Yes.
phone. And it's like,
That's I think that's LED though, isn't it? I think
some of
it's
it is LED, some
transparent.
of it is projection, I think.
Oh, really? Because
Yeah.
I think that there is certain types of transparent LED walls.
There are always. Oh my god, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's super cool. Like, you can have, because, like, if you think, kind of like my mask,
Oh yeah, it's like a. Yeah.
like, you make the grid thin enough.
Oh yeah, they made some of those with like TVs and stuff, I think.
Yeah. And I think he uses a version of that, because I remember if you look at the strobes, when the strobes go off, like, behind the screen, you can kind of see a grid pattern
Okay.
of an LED wall.
I'm into it.
So it might not be. It might just be the really specific type of mesh screen they use.
Huh. Yeah, because the mesh screens are all just grid based, but
Yeah. So it could be. We should look that up. We need our own Jamie.
I get the cool thing about using these screens though is that like you can, spend a couple $100 per square foot, or you go to Amazon.com and you type in 9-foot tall wedding tool. And you just get the white material that they hang up at weddings, and it's like pretty much clear anyways. And it
Oh,
does the
man.
exact same thing. It just
That's
rips really
genius.
easily, so you can like not doing it in windy places outdoors like my dumbass did this one time.
You know the craziest place I saw that stuff, that wedding stuff?
Yeah.
The Loft.
What?
One time, this was like 2010, 2011, way back when.
Oh, this was
a
back
young
when people
alien.
still tried to be creative.
Yeah, well, you know what it was? It was for a police officer's wedding reception thing.
Oh, okay,
Or
yeah.
like a party there.
Imagine holding your wedding reception.
Bro, yeah, like Dave knew some cop. Yeah, I know. But no, it was ridiculous. They had all these tables, and they put all that white stuff everywhere, and I mean, you wouldn't recognize it. It looked like a fucking wedding venue.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and if you point a projector at those things, it works like a holographic material.
Yeah, we used to use that for lasers. As
Yeah.
swims.
Yeah, it
We
looks
used to-
sweet with lasers, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool too. Combining an RGB laser projector, like
Yeah.
It kind of sucks because they call the laser projectors that you put on stage, they're called also laser projectors.
Yeah,
as far
because
as I
they
know.
use a laser diode, yeah.
Yeah. They use 3 diodes, right? That's how they do it.
Yeah.
They mix them together, but I think those are called laser projectors.
Yes, they are.
So, but it'd be cool to combine a laser projector with like an actual projector.
Oh, yeah.
I think with Touch Designer, you could probably control the lasers and the projection at the same time.
Yeah, you can do both.
And then like maybe use the laser to cut shapes or something.
Yeah, no, that's actually exactly what I was thinking about using it for, because your XY range in your laser as well as your RGB color It's just
Yeah.
all within a -1 and 1 range.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
just send out raw data to your laser, like -1 to 1, and then 1 to 0.5 or something like that, and moves around. And one of the interesting things about Touch Designer is that it really heavily utilizes this concept called RGB math. So
Oh, nice.
essentially what happens is it's really computationally expensive to manipulate certain kinds of data because Touch Designer sits on your CPU.
Right.
So what you do is you offload all of that work onto your GPU. And instead of actually crunching numbers, what you're doing is you're just manipulating the RGB of a particular square. So if you have this square of color and it's just got like a bunch of different pixelated colors in there,
Sure.
the RGB value of each individual pixel determines the positioning value of any particular object that you're trying to determine positional values for. So if I have like a
suppose-
dark red, that just means like it's all the way to the right, or a dark green, it's all the way to the top, and dark blue, it's all the way to the back, right?
Right. Oh, okay.
And so any combination of this fits within this particular 3D space based on the color of your pixel. And so by messing with these values, it's super computationally cheap to essentially do these kinds of things like what you were mentioning with like tracing out the lines and stuff, because you can convert all of this data and physics simulation that you might want to do. You just convert it into an RGB square and then you just manipulate the colors as you want.
Which
And
is
it's all
like what
GPU
a-
based.
It's like what a GPU specializes in.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like that's what the computing of a GPU is designed to
Yeah.
do. Right? So then that kind of frees up the CPU in Touch Designer then to handle all their data then.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
'cause,
that
like-
you can
because
take
of-
in data and say like
Yep.
how you interact with the data. And
Yeah.
then okay, cool.
Yeah, because Touch Designer is single-threaded, which makes it really inconvenient because it doesn't matter if I have an i5 or an i7, it's just going to all
Whoa.
cook on the same thread.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It also only plays well with NVIDIA GPUs and Intel CPU. It's this whole pain in the ass thing.
Oh, so it's not.
Sucks.
They're not an AMD fan.
It's like they run on AMD. There's just like certain things that don't work.
Which kind of sucks. I can imagine. But maybe not the ideal situation.
No, it is like very.
Kinda.
It's very specific use case scenarios that I only use like once a year. But then it's like that once a year where it's like I don't want to wish that I wasn't running Intel.
Yeah, right. You don't want. It's better to. What they say, it's better to have it and not need it.
Yeah,
than to
yeah.
need it and not have it. I can imagine that it'd be like, oh, you want me to do this real specific thing? I'm sorry, I happen to be using an AMD GPU. today."
Yeah.
and it doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Because like one of the projects that I like to work on is I love going to the Como Conservatory.
Oh yeah.
They got like all of the plants and everything. And there's like the big fern room, and then they got the tropical room, and then they got all of the little food plant rooms and all that stuff. Long story short is all sorts of different plants, all sorts of different colors. I love plants and colors. So what I do is I take these 3D point scans with my iPhone. It's like $80 subscription off of Polycam. And I can essentially convert plants into 3D objects that I can manipulate in Touch Designer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I can have like this cool looking flower, and then I can like individually have like determine a point for every single like little pixel of that flower in a 3D space. And then I can like throw a noise over it and it explodes, or it like
Or, like,
kind of
spin
twirls
it?
around, or it has a swirl, yeah, or you can
Yeah.
do a spin to it. The problem is that all of that runs on your CPU and it's computationally expensive. So I have to offload a lot of that manipulation into RGB math.
Oh, okay.
So
That
Touch
makes
Designer
sense.
is really cool for that. Is you can, manipulate 3D objects in a really efficient way.
Yeah. That's kind of what it specializes in, right? Like, like taking computational data and offloading it.
Yeah,
right?
Touch
Like,
Designer is like the one of the most flexible tools with converting data types.
Yeah. Well, I know it does like a MIDI, I think.
Yeah, it accepts
like-
MIDI. It
yeah,
it
so you
accepts
can-
OSC.
Yeah, OS too.
You can
which-
hook it up to Ableton actually.
Oh yeah. Do you know Deadmau5?
Yeah.
I'm sure you may have heard of Deadmau5.
Yeah, I may have heard of that.
So, do you know his Cube version 3?
Yeah.
That's all they literally do all that in Touch.
Yeah, I've watched him. I've definitely stayed up until 4 a.m. watching him do that on Twitch a couple of times.
Yeah. Same. I usually don't catch him live. I usually run into him after. Like,
Oh
on
yeah,
YouTube
he
or
does like a
stuff.
VOD or something.
Yeah.
He also
so-
does like a contest every year. where they just like sit 10 artists down, they give them Touch Designer, and they're like, here, you got an hour and a half, winner gets the visuals on the cube.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. If I ever get that big, that's genius, man.
Yeah. You're gonna make so many circles, dude.
Dude, so many circles. And they're gonna do so much cool stuff. You don't even know. I got big dreams.
Yeah.
So, I kind of wanted to talk about your branding. I think it's really cool. You mentioned you like colors and plants, and pothos. It's a particular plant?
Yeah, it's like an ivy type plant.
Is it like? So, is it your favorite plant? you like?
Yeah, I have like 9 of them. It's easily the type of plant. So pothos is like a trailing ivy plant. It likes to climb stuff, and
Okay.
it's got little nodes on them. So I decided to go with Pothos Labs because I've always, you know how like you can make music or you can make art sometimes just because it sounds good, but
yeah.
your desire to get around to making that music, it probably doesn't keep up with how excited you actually are when you sit down to make things.
Yeah.
And what I realized really early on was that I was like way more interested in starting a project if it had to do something with nature. So I called myself Pothos Labs because I enjoy taking inspiration and focusing a lot of what I make based around our natural surroundings around us.
Yeah, that'd be cool. See, what I kind of dream of hiring you for is doing something like Electric Forest
Oh yeah.
and doing something crazy with the forest itself.
Yeah.
And then manipulating that live during my set.
That'd be pretty sick.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what a perfect environment for that, right? All the trees and all the nature that you can use. And I mean, we could get in there ahead of time and like scan stuff.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Yeah, it's like you can scan stuff, you can project onto the trees. There's also really crazy stuff. I saw some pictures from the installation of Electric Forest this year, and it seems like this year more than almost any other year, the increase in the increase in visual artists have like exponentially increased.
Right.
There's like so many more installations this year than I would have anticipated from like 2021.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I haven't been in a couple years. It was like 2019, I think, was my last one, which was great. It was a good year. But I just haven't had the time or money, honestly, to go back.
Yeah, I'm too old, dude.
Yeah, right. That's kind of me, man. Like, I need a shower and air conditioning. Like, living in a tent, it gets harder for me year by year.
Yeah, it's maybe if I ever get asked as an artist or something like that.
That's my dream. Just give me like a place that I can rent an RV and I'll drive an RV down there. That'll be fine. I'll be fine now.
Yeah.
I can be fine in an RV. That's fine.
The good news is I don't think there's anything stopping us from a technical perspective in doing proof of concepts like these in the cities. I think we have all of the resources and all of the people to be able to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we should definitely make that a goal.
Yeah.
Of the community, I think.
Yeah, because like we've done some stuff. So I'm part of a visual arts collective called Bound Space. And all of us have very different skill sets when it comes to making visual art. So like some people are analog glitch artists. Some of them are like me where we just make pure digital art. And some people are really good at making like pre-rendered stuff in Blender or Final Cut where they just make like really well done artist graphics for people. Because one of the biggest issues is you do like a show in the Twin Cities, right? And it's like all of these local DJs don't have their own graphics.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to make them, so we're gonna make them for them.
Oh yeah. I bought some custom graphics from Blake Audette.
Oh yeah, Blake is a homie. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah, he does the Blender. He does the Final Cut in Blender.
Yeah, Exuberant Koala. Look him up on Instagram.
Thank you. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, I got you, Blake.
Shout out to you, Exuberant Koala. Go check him out on Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, how do we find you? Can we find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so I go by Pothos_Labs, so it's POTHOS_Labs, LABS. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I post little snippets of my work and whatnot. And then, I'll occasionally we'll put up a show or something like that if you're interested in checking something out live.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. I think Instagram is good for that. It's good for visual artists, I imagine.
It's super good for visual artists. I recently installed TikTok just because I wanted to see if it would be any better and like I think I uninstalled it in like 2 days or something like that.
We've been meaning to do more TikTok stuff, but like we've both been really busy, and it's been a weird week and holidays and shit. We've been trying to make like reels and stuff, but
Dude, it's like kind of an effort.
yeah, man, it's a whole thing.
People
It's a
spend
whole
so much
thing.
time making like edits for a 30-second clip. It's honestly quite impressive. I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah, that's why I got my lovely editor B. they can take care of it. They've been taking care of it so far.
That's why I pre-render sometimes. It's just because I'm like too lazy to be bothered to pre-record something.
Yeah, just throw in some people. That's like the most cliche thing you can do, isn't it, as a VJ artist these days?
Put on people.
Yeah.
I struggle so much because I can, spend $80 on a Resolute Marina pack or something like that, but it's just like everybody else is doing that, and it just makes more sense to make stuff for yourself when you have like all sorts of crazy ideas and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it's tricky, right? Because it's like when we were DJs, the line between a DJ and a producer was oftentimes blurred, and people weren't really too sure, and like sometimes DJs would be really popular for no reason, and then the producer would get like nothing in return, and it's like sometimes that's the same way with visual artists too. It's just like you get a bunch of VJs that download off of YouTube or something, and then you get the guy that makes his own, and at the end of the day, like if it looks good, it looks good, and if it looks bad, it looks bad, right? So it's like, who am I to say if I make something that looks bad, I shouldn't get any credit for it? But it's still really frustrating sometimes too, because I don't think people realize the amount of work that we actually put into it.
Oh yeah, I see that it's starting to come around, it seems like. I'm seeing like VJs and stuff advertised more like on flyers and stuff, which I think is cool. I think we're gonna try and do that too.
I think it's super sick.
Yeah, like I would love to have you on one of our shows sometime. We're definitely we're still kind of figuring out how to bring our shows back in particular.
Yeah.
Just because we've got a lot going on. I mean, I've been trying to write my EP for like a year, but
eventual Ghosteater EP release.
It'll come.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, it's like the last one, I didn't really have a podcast going on.
Right.
I was a little bit more focused, and it was my second EP after my show, so I was like really determined to like show that I could do it.
Right.
And this time, it's like it's a little bit more pressure, and we got a lot of stuff more going on. So I am taking my time with it, and I'm actually trying to collaborate a lot more on this particular EP. Yeah, like I got some like my cousin is actually in Frog Leg.
Okay.
The singer of Frog Leg.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, Joe Dunn.
I love Frog Leg.
Yeah, Joe Dunn is my cousin.
Oh my god.
We just had 4th of July with him actually.
That's crazy.
And, we're gonna do a song together.
I used to live with Megan Hamilton. Her bass player in the Bermudas was Jimmy from Frog Leg.
Yeah, oh yeah, I fucking forgot about that.
Yeah, Jimmy is just like sitting around fucking playing bass guitar all the time, and then
super good bass player,
obnoxiously good. And then one day Frog Leg was like, "Hey, would you like to play with us?" And Jimmy was like, "Yes, please."
Yes.
Get me out of this godforsaken EDM funk band.
It can be a tough world, man. Especially for a traditional bass player. I can't make those bass lines.
No. Megan's good shit, and I love Jimmy, and we're all good friends. So
shout out Hams. We're trying to get Hams on, but she's really busy, as Hams always is.
Oh my god, I've been trying to get lunch with her for like a year and a half.
God damn it, Hams.
Yeah.
Why are you so busy and successful?
Yeah, why are you so much cooler than the rest of us? Can you design? Can you make my visuals for me? That'd be tight.
Yeah, we're trying to get lunch and have a podcast interview, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Someday we'll get her.
Yeah, dude, mukbang stream. You can eat lunch on the podcast.
Dude, the first little tour I ever went on was with Megan Hams.
Oh, no kidding.
I think it was just that I had a car and a license.
Yeah, that checks out.
It just so happened that I could DJ, so I could open.
Yeah, that checks out. I remember those times.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, it was a good experience. We played, I think, in Whitefish.
Yep.
And I can't remember, the Bozeman, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't
Montana.
remember. Yeah, somewhere in Montana. And Fargo. We did a Fargo show too. It was
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, those guys at Fargo love Megan.
The guy who set up my decks was very nice. I can't remember his name, but shout out to that guy.
He better be. Could you imagine if he remembered his name and he was me?
I probably would remember his name then if he like threw my decks on the ground. I'm like, I'm gonna remember this guy's name.
Was his name perhaps Eli at Micro Center?
Yes. Maybe it was. Shout out to that guy. I mean, negative shout out, I suppose.
No, I'm just kidding. Those poor guys did the best they could. It's like, oh, sorry, dude, you bought the wrong warranty. I wasn't even working here 2 years ago when our guys screwed up. I'm not trying to lose my job, so
Yeah.
like I get it.
Oh man.
But also, it'd be tight if they send me a new projector and then I could shout them out because that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Shout out.
Shout outs to Micro Center.
Yeah, Micro Center. Can you sponsor this particular podcast by sending my homie Paul a new projector? You kind of fucked up his warranty, it sounds like.
No, and we have like public works projects and stuff like that we were gonna plan on using it for, and now we can't.
Oh yeah.
So
A lot of like the Minneapolis stuff.
yeah, so I have the show in September, and sorry, this is gonna be Pothos Labs promo time.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, the one show in middle of nowhere. No, I'm just kidding. So, I have a good relationship with these people in Granite Falls, who have an art gallery, and we are essentially doing a month's work of Bounce Space exhibit displays. So it's going to be analog glitch art, it's going to be digital glitch art, it's going to be digital generative art, and some really crazy, weird photography, mixed media stuff as well that my friends are doing. And we were going to project a lot of this stuff on opening night as a way to be able to show it off for the city.
Sure.
And kind of just like show people what we're all about and kind of show them, hey, you don't have to be good at drawing to make art.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of ways that you can make art, and as long as you want to learn the technicalities of something, you can express yourself creatively. And I think that's really important to show for people and to kind of do it in an inviting way, and we are going to hopefully use the projectors as a way to kind of do that. So,
Well,
Micro
if
Center,
anyone,
just so you
sees
know.
this and has a projector that we can borrow, hit us up.
Yeah, we have some that we can rent. We got a homie over at EMI.
Oh yeah. Shout out to EMI. I actually do love EMI.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
They are awesome. They fixed my decks a couple times. They had some good hazers that were reasonably well priced.
Okay,
And they were like
okay.
the nice CO2 ones, you know?
Oh,
If you go into a hotel, 9 times out of 10, they
Yeah.
got those like trigger
yeah,
sprinklers.
yeah,
Can't have heated smoke.
yeah,
But the CO2 ones are cold.
yeah.
They don't do that. They don't cause an issue.
When was the last time you did a hotel party?
God damn, it was so long ago. It was like 2015. The guys from Winter Warmer threw like another hotel rave thing in somewhere in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was that like Love Hotel or something like that?
It was spring themed.
Oh, spring themed. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure. It was cool. I did lasers in the pool room.
Oh my god, that was the one where the Centrific played at that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember that party.
That was dope. So
And everything started fogging up because it got so hot in there.
yeah.
It made the lasers look really cool, though.
Oh, dude, the lasers are great. Like, so I've talked about it before. Like, we were in the pool room, and there was like a utility room in the like on the right hand side, right, and then there was like it was basically I think it was the bathrooms and then a little closet, but above it, it was just nothing. It was just a blank roof, right? And then all across like the second story of the room was windows into the hallways
Yeah.
of hotels rooms
Yeah.
and shit. And so you could walk in there and you could look down at the pool and you could like look up. And I had the lasers on the little roof of that little room.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? Because that's where like it was over the pool.
Yeah,
you
and you
know,
didn't have to
that's-
like worry about calibrating and hitting people in the face
yeah,
and
well, I
stuff.
just squished them really thin.
Yeah.
And I projected them in between the floor of the second floor and the ceiling.
Yeah.
So if you were in the pool and you looked up, all you could see was lasers. And then if you were like up above looking down at the pool, again, all you could see was lasers. And I pretty much just fanned them the whole time and did all these cool, patterns and stuff. And I played at like 4 a.m. and I played like a weird, like a mix. I don't even know what those genres. It was 100 BPM, so it was like a mix of Moomba.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it Moombaton?
It was like Moombatan. Yeah, Moomba.
Back when Moomba was cool.
Moomba's still fucking cool. I'm still so. Oh man, I've played at a couple parties, and just casually, and I fucking get all excited, and I drop some Moomba 2 times now. Clear the room.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you guys. Moomba's cool. God damn it. You used to spin a little Moomba, didn't you?
I loved playing Moombaton.
Yeah. You were like a house and a Moomba guy, right?
Yeah, it was like
remember.
the weirdest. It was the weirdest combination of music. Yeah.
That is a little out of left field.
I think it's amazing. After 15 years of DJing, I still don't have good musical taste.
You just sometimes you're bored with it. Sometimes you just don't have it. I mean, honestly, 15 years, still don't have it. It's okay to give up. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay.
It's okay to make visual art and pretend that it looks better. No, I totally didn't just make visual art because nobody dug my DJing. That's totally not what happened.
Oh, no.
No,
I love
absolutely
your DJ.
not.
We love your DJ. It's hard to be a DJ, man. Like, to make it as just a DJ, too.
Well, honestly,
and, like, to produce, and then just, it's fucking hard.
well, one of the things is like, we've been doing this for 15 years, which is wild to think about. Like, if I looked at myself 15 years ago and said you'd be here sitting with Ghosteater in the room doing this in a house that one of our friends owns, I would not believe you. Like,
what?
there's no way Ghosteater is still alive, and there's no way that we'd be friends with somebody that can own a house.
Right, that project can't possibly still be going.
But here we are.
Here we are.
But one of the issues is that, you grow older and your taste in music changes, and then the stuff that you listen to just no longer becomes very party-centric because you start listening to it on the dance floor and it's like, wow, this guy is really depressed and he wants to go to bed.
I think our last mix I listened to yours was one of your chill mixes like that.
They're all chill mixes now. That's the best part.
I was like listening to it at work. I was like, man, I need to go take a nap.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds great and you have like the best nap ever, but you're not going to listen to that at the party.
It is a good nap, yeah, but I should be working.
So, I started doing like sunrise sets and like daytime stuff and just kind of like more ambient background music. And
There's a place for that though, too.
there really is. And I think that's why like I've wanted to normalize visual arts installations and normalize like more slow curated music is because art and music can exist in more than just one portion of our life. We can have art and wonderful music in every single portion of our life, and we just need to find a way for us to be able to relate to it in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely. I like that though. I think that's really important. I mean, like we've talked a little bit about the flexibility of generative art.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I think it would go well with is more chill stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of like your particle work where you got cool particles doing cool stuff. If you kind of slow that down, speed it up and slow it down.
Yeah.
Like that, I think would look really cool.
Make it breathe a little bit.
Yeah, like that would be perfect for more ambient stuff. And I think that is needed. And I think that like too often, I think we go for minimalism without really taking full advantage of it.
Yeah.
Or we cut too much and we don't utilize what's left effectively, in my opinion, sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. Because like so much of it is like an exploration in like what is the bare minimum.
Yeah. That's true. That's cool.
I find myself oftentimes like going the complete opposite, which is like, can I add more complexity? Can I add more things? And like, I have to always remind myself, like, just cut a couple of things out and polish it, and then like focus on taking some of these ideas and putting it into something else.
Yeah. That's the thing about being creative is sometimes it's like, I'm sure especially with visual artists, it's like, how do you find when you're done?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get to a finished product? I suffer sometimes with like adding too many layers.
Oh yeah.
Where like by the end it's like, okay, this is getting obnoxious.
Yeah, dude, just add another arpeggio.
Yeah. Get another white noise. Cut out some other frequencies.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it wobble slightly.
Like
different.
make a reverb specifically only for this particular like range of frequencies.
I was really bad at that for a while. Like when I first got my production chops, I went a little overboard with it.
Mhm.
And now it's so funny. Like once I figured out how to make like those fat bar masters, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's just fucking limiter, by the way. Anyone out there wondering, just put a limiter on it.
Yeah.
That's literally what that is. I was furious when I found that out.
It's just a limiter and some sidechain, dude.
That's it. That's literally it. That's literally my master channel now.
Yeah, a little
have
bit of
a
compression,
limiter.
sidechain to your kick,
I
put a
have
limiter at the end of
yeah.
it.
I do have a really fancy, like, MIDI chain, sidechain.
Mhm.
Very particular about my sidechain. Well, I make bass music, you know?
Yeah.
Like, 90% of the song is in the low end.
Oh, it's just like sound textures on sound textures.
Yeah! Like and that kind of goes back to the simplicity as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of dubstep got too complex, in my opinion, and now it seems to be coming back down
Yeah.
a little bit. More focus on the simplicity. I really don't like the excision headbanging. Like, I like it at times, of course.
Yeah.
I'm a big metalhead fan, but like having a whole set like that kind of drives me fucking crazy.
Well, it's it's fun for 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I need to do something else. You know what I mean? Add some context, add some, contextualize it a little bit, give it some room to breathe. And I try to kind of bring that into my sets as well. You know what I mean?
Sweet.
So I have, I start off a little heavy, bring it back a little bit, and then fluctuate
Yeah.
and breathe as well.
Well,
I
it's
kinda-
like manipulating people movement too.
yeah.
Because like
yeah.
you have to put yourself in the head of your audience and be like, are they tired at this point?
Right,
Do they
right.
want to go to the bar? Perhaps everybody's gone because they're on a smoke break.
Right.
Um,
How many people did I just make go smoke?
yeah, exactly. So it's like you gotta change it up every now and then, or at least add some movement and variety to it, just because the people around you are also going to be moving and changing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you kind of do visual art at like festivals and stuff,
Yeah,
like you're saying you do stages mostly, right?
yeah,
Like-
sort of. It depends. I've done a mixture of both.
Would you ever like? It sounds like it would be cool to kind of like, for example, kind of take over like infrasound, and like both have art installations that interact
Mhm.
and not in the stage area necessarily. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? But kind of handle all that. You know what I mean?
Oh, like setting up an installation to like
Yeah,
do
or
stuff
like a
for.
couple of them, and then
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would honestly love to be able to set up anything in infrasound or run visuals for any of it. Alex, hit up your boy.
yeah. What's up, man?
um.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, my phone just went off.
Okay.
Well, that was awesome, man.
Yeah.
That was such a good conversation. I really do enjoy talking to you. I did learn a lot. You know, I knew a lot about Touch Designer, but that was pretty cool. although the single thread thing, Touch Designer, if you hear this, what the fuck is up with that?
They're working on it. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe it'll come out next year.
Well, once again, is Instagram the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So
Well-
Instagram.com/Pothos_labs. POTHOS_labs. That's usually the best way to get a hold of me. You can find me on Facebook if you know my Facebook, but yeah, typically Instagram's the best way to do it.
And you're available for like kind of what we talked about, right? Doing stages, art installations, kind of if you have a visual need. Get
Yeah.
at ya, huh?
Yeah, so I'm best suited for visual arts installations, more static installation type of stuff. If you need somebody that can do VJs for your show, definitely hit me up. I'm certainly not opposed to looking and considering and seeing if our tastes and kind of what we have envisioned will line up. And it's just simply because there's a lot of other artists that are much better at me at making certain kinds of art. And, if you like my specific stuff and you want it for a show, absolutely. Or, if you don't know what you want and you kind of just want a couple of VJs or like a Rolodex of portfolios, reach out to me too, because our team at Bounce Space has more than enough people that can definitely help out and fit all sorts of styles.
Thank you for
Awesome.
listening.
Well, hey, thanks again, Paul. Really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for catching up. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Ghosteater and Friends.